From the previous lecture, we have learned that you can simply drop files in the application code folder. Examples like .cs files. When you drop a class file into application code folder, the class can be automatically utilized by running application. Before ASP.NET 2.0, if you want to deploy a custom component, you had to pre-compile the component before being able to utilize it within our application. Now ASP.NET takes care of all the work that you have to do. You don't need to do any compilation routine. This is because in ASP.NET now we have build providers. So in this lesson we will learn about build providers. Which files get compiled in AppCode folder is determined through settings applied in a configuration file. Not every file is automatically compiled. Only those listed in the configuration file and which are recognized by ASP.NET will be compiled. So if you look at master web.config file in ASP.NET, which is also called root web.config file, it has a section containing the list of build providers that can be used. Our master web.config file, also called root web.config file, is located in the same directory where machine.config file is located. Now here we are using .NET version 4.0. So our web.config file exists inside C drive Windows folder, where we have Microsoft.NET folder. Under that we have framework folder, and under that there is a corresponding version folder, whatever version you are using for .NET, and under that folder you have config folder. So if you open the file, let us copy the URL, go to the folder. So this is our folder here, C drive Windows Microsoft.NET framework version 4.0.3.30319 and config. So here we have machine.config file, and here we have web.config file. Since we are talking about ASP.NET, okay, we can open web.config file. So double click this. So this is our web.config file. Now in this file there is a section called build providers. Press Ctrl F. In the find dialog, type build provider. Click find next. Now click cancel to remove the find dialog. Scroll the page. So here we have a section called build providers. So here we can see the list of build providers available for us to utilize. So here we have page build provider, user control build provider, master page build provider, web service build provider, web handler build provider, web service build provider, ResX build provider, resource build provider, WSDL build provider, XSD build provider, force copy build provider, ignore file build provider, ignore file build provider, ignore file build provider, ignore file build provider, entity designer build provider, workflow service build provider, service build provider, and XAML bill provider. So these are the list of bill providers available for us. Minimize this file, minimize this folder. Not only yes, even ASP.NET makes use of bill providers. For example, dragging and dropping .wsdl file into AppCode folder of a deployed application automatically gives ASP.NET application access to the created proxy. So when you drop .wsdl file into AppCode folder, from that file ASP.NET will create a proxy class. Using that proxy class inside ASP.NET application, you can create instance of that class and access the methods of the web service. Similarly, if you drag and drop .wsdl file into AppCode folder during development in Visual Studio, it will cause the IDE to give you access to the dynamically compiled proxy class that comes from the .wsdl file. So what you understand from this is you can drag and drop files after deployment or during development. The file will be automatically compiled and a proxy class will be created and you can access that proxy class. This means that any file with .wsdl extension is compiled using WSDL bill provider. The capability to compile any WSDL file is defined by the following line in the master web.config file, also called root web.config file. By addition of this statement. So this statement causes the .wsdl file extension to be compiled by WSDL bill provider. A bill provider is nothing but a class that inherits from system.web.compilation.bill provider. Bill provider section in web.config file allows you to list the bill provider classes that will be utilized. Microsoft provides a number of bill providers for you to use. As you can see from the list in the web.config file, number of providers are available in addition to WSDL bill provider. Here we will discuss two more bill providers. The first one is force copy bill provider and the second one is ignore file bill provider. Force copy bill provider is basically a provider that copies only those files for deployment that use the defined extension. These files are not used in the compilation process. That means if you declare force copy bill provider for a particular file of type extension .txt, the .txt files will not be used in the compilation process because we have declared it using force copy bill provider. It only copies those files for deployment, but the file will not be used in the compilation process. In the master web.config file, we can see that the force copy bill provider is specifying .js extension, which means that any files with .js extension are simply copied and not included in the compilation process, which makes sense for JavaScript files because JavaScript files need not be compiled by the .NET compiler. They will be compiled by the browser engine, so they need not be used in the compilation process. They can just be copied to the server. So that is why the master web.config file has declared .js extension using force copy bill provider. You can add other file types that you want to be part of this copy process with the command shown here. Here we are also excluding CHM files, so that they are not in the compilation process, they are just copied. Ignore file build provider is another provider that causes the defined file type to be ignored in the deployment and compilation process. Previously we have ignored files for compilation process, but now this ignore file build provider will ignore files for both deployment as well as compilation. Previously the files were deployed but not compiled using force copy build provider, but using ignore file build provider the files are not deployed as well as they are not compiled. This means that any file type defined with ignore file build provider is simply ignored by Visual Studio and will not copy, compile or deploy any file of that type. For example, if you are adding a Visio diagrams in your project, you can simply add the following add element to the web.config file to have this file type ignored. Add extension .vsd type system.web.compilation.ignore file build provider. With this in place, all Visio files are ignored. They are not copied, they are not compiled and they are not deployed to the server. We can also create our own custom build provider. We learn about creating custom build providers in the next lecture.